بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين، سيما الإمام المبين والكهف الحصين وغياث المضطر المستكين، مولانا وسيدنا وولي نعمتنا الحجة ابن الحسن، فداه أرواح العالمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا، ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هذه سبيلي. Tell them this is my path. أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني. I invite you to believe in God with insight, me and my followers. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please recite aloud salawat. In an open society driven by secular and liberal ideals, religious groups strive to preserve their identity and protect their unique culture. And in order for us to retain our religiosity in a non-religious society, we need to be equipped with the right tools. The first thing that we need to do as a top priority, because if we get our priorities mixed up, then we will lose the plot. We will depend on a flawed compass. The first thing that we need to do is cement the foundation, the bedrock of our religion. What is the foundation of our religion, the foundation of our faith? It's knowledge. We need to acquire knowledge. And by knowledge, I don't mean academic knowledge. I mean the knowledge about the origin of our existence. The knowledge that pertains to the philosophy behind creation, why we're here, our relationship with the Creator, and about the future, our eternal future. Because it doesn't make sense if we were brought to this life, to this world, just for this world, then why do we depart this life? And if we depart this life, then why were we brought to this world? So the first step that we need to take in cementing the foundation of our faith is acquire knowledge with respect to our Creator, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ought to know who God is, to understand why He brought us here, and to know why we need to follow Him, why we need to submit our will to Him. When you look at the story of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, it really doesn't make sense if Imam al-Hussein's pivot was someone other than God. I once saw this great poster that was placed on the sahan of Imam al-Hussein, the wall of his shrine, on the day of Ashura, where millions of people were mourning his tragedy. It was a drawing of the Imam depicting the day, on the day of Ashura, when the Imam carried his 6-month-old infant and he was struck with an arrow, slaughtering him, beheading him while he was in the lap of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. What did the Imam say? The Imam said, هَوَّنَ مَا نَزَلَ بِي أَنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. What eases this calamity is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing. And back then, Imam al-Hussein was besieged by an entire army thirsty to shed his blood. So, based on human calculations, no one could have changed that equation other than a superpower. And Imam al-Hussein relied on God. Imam al-Hussein trusted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Hussein had faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why he said, what makes this calamity ease? It's a very difficult tragedy, but what makes it ease is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing, He has the ability to change things. He has the ability to change the outcome. Imam al-Hussein was ostensibly defeated. He was crushed. He was uprooted. Even his remembrance was outlawed. His name was banned. Everything associated to Hussein was illegal. His tomb was destroyed 17 times. They even tried to change the path of the Euphrates, the river, to cover the grave of Imam al-Hussein so that no one comes and mourns Hussein and visits his grave. The same way they did with the tomb of Zayd ibn Ali. They buried him inside the river so that no one can go and sit on his grave and mourn him. They learned a lesson from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So they tried and tried and tried. But وَلِلَّهِ عَاقِبَةُ الْأُمُورِ. He controls the outcome. What we see today is a lesson in Tawheed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. He could change the outcome. He could change everything. Where is Yazid? What happened to the Umayyads? You see no trace of the Umayyads, Yazid, although he was the ultimate emperor back then. When you read the story of Sayyidah Ruqayya, it's unbelievable. A 3-year-old daughter wakes up in the middle of the night and she says that I saw my father in a dream. I want him. The emperor is Yazid. He's sitting in his palace. He asks the guards, what makes this little girl cry? They say to him that she's a daughter of Hussein. She's crying because she wants her father. So Yazid says that take the head of her father so that this might give her solace. He wants to hurt her. So she embraces the head of her father, and then she is silenced. She dies. If we were in history, if we were with Sayyidah Ruqayya back then, we wouldn't have ever thought that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change the outcome. Yazid will be destroyed in no time, in 3 years' time after the death, after the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and he changed the outcome entirely. Yazid doesn't have a tomb. Everyone curses Yazid, while Sayyidah Ruqayya has a beautiful shrine in Sham. And thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, despite the security situation in Syria, they still go to pay tribute to this 3-year-old girl of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So the first thing that we need to do is learn, is teach ourselves about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is God? That is the pivot of our faith. If you remove that from the equation, everything, the religious system, our faith would crumble. The structure will crumble. We have to know who God is. Once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Musa, He said, Ya Musa, I want you to make the people love me. Musa said, how should I do that? He said, introduce them to my blessings. Tell them about my favors to them, about the bounties that I've given them. This is what we try to do with our children as well. You try to make your children mindful of the care that you provided to them, of how much you're concerned about their welfare, how much you provided to them. you try to make them aware and tell them to say thank you. Why? You just want them to appreciate what you've done to them? No, no, no. What you do is you try to make them mindful of these things, of the love that you've provided, how much you love them. You always try to make them understand how much you love them so that they trust you. When you tell them, don't befriend that guy, don't go in an outing with these people, that's because you're concerned about their welfare. That's because you're concerned about their future. So love and being mindful of the ni'am gives you the appreciation and make you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having trust in God is very important, but it only comes after you know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to you. I mentioned the story of Yusuf last night and the night before. The first thing that Yusuf says when she tries to lure him into committing the sin is مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ رَبِّي أَحْسَنَ مَثْوَاي. After all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me, I should commit a sin? I should wrong him? No. Na'udhu billah. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful. He's in charge. Everything is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the kind of knowledge that you need to acquire. And you need to be careful about the source of that knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانِ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. You should examine the food that you eat. Traditions of the Ahlul Bayt, they explain the verse by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not referring to our food. This is a natural this is primitive. You all know that you should eat the right food. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to something else. He's referring to the knowledge that you acquire. Make sure that it's the right source. Why? Because especially when you're young, if you choose the wrong source for your knowledge, when the knowledge enters your mind is programmed. It will be very difficult to undo a thought. It will be very difficult to change the mindset. That's why you have to be very careful, vigilant as to the source of your knowledge. The source should be none other than Muhammad wa al Muhammad. They will teach us. They will educate us about who God is. The description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they know better. We should follow them. They are the only source for the right knowledge that we need to acquire. And after we acquire that knowledge, we fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will try to please Him. We will try to satisfy our Creator, our Lord. The hadith says that some of you may pray more than others. Some may fast more than others. Some may perform more rituals than others. But the best amongst you is the one that has more ma'rifah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You might be sleeping at night in your bed, but you have ma'rifah in God. You are better than someone who doesn't have ma'rifah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he spends the night praying and he spends the day fasting. That's the pivot. We need to have ma'rifah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have ma'rifah in God, you would be able to identify your duties. You would be able to identify your responsibilities. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that one day as I was doing tawaf around the Kaaba and I was very tired, the Imam looked at me. So it's an Imam talking to another Imam. The father talking to his son. He said to him that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with someone, He will be content with little bit of rituals. You don't have to spend the entire night praying, as long as you have piety, as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is satisfied with you, as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with you. Let me give you an example. You want your children to listen to you. You tell them that I want you to, for example, pray on time, to sleep early at night, not use your mobile phones 24/7. But you have a child who's rebellious, he doesn't listen to you. But he wants to, return your favors by doing things that he wishes to do. For example, he buys you a car. You tell him, thank you so much, that's a big favor, you bought me a car, but I want you to listen to me. Your duty might be treating your mother or your father with kindness. Your duty might be refraining from a specific sin that you commit. Because the hadith says that if a person commits a sin, even if that sin is a minor sin, but you keep committing that sin will not be a minor sin anymore. It will be a major sin. So our responsibilities vary. Our duties in life vary. But you need to seek God's satisfaction. You need to identify what your duty is. And this comes after the ma'rifah. And through ma'rifah, you try to attain certainty. The way you deal with the dangers in this world. How you try to abstain from anything, getting close to anything dangerous. You need to look at God's red lines, the divine red lines, the same way. And that's certainty. That's called yaqeen. نوم على يقين خير من عبادة على شك. And you need to take it step by step. For example, you need to be aware of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained hijab on women. You try to find out the philosophy behind hijab. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it mandatory? Then you attain yaqeen that hijab is good for you. Nothing can shake you afterwards. This applies to everything in religion. You should extricate yourself from doubt and enter inside the realm of yaqeen. And this can only be acquired after you attain the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'rifah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing that we need to do is acquire knowledge about God, about the Creator. Then we will understand why He created us, why He brought us to this world, and we'll know about the future, what will happen in the hereafter. And these are things that we need to acquire, we need to extract from the right sources, from the Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salam. The second thing that we need to remain religious, to retain our religiosity in a society like the society we're living in, is we need a spiritual journey. We need to spend time in our spiritual growth. We have a spirit. This spirit, if nurtured, it will grow. If abandoned, it will shrink. We need to nurture it. We need to spend time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we pray 5 times a day. For so many years. This is not just a mundane thing that we keep repeating. It's like climbing a ladder. It's like climbing a ladder. You go higher and higher up into the other realm, into the upper realm. And when you are faced with a challenge, when you are faced with a problem, you will lean on your iman. You will lean on your faith to save you. But you need to spend time. You can't bypass this step. I met with a friend of mine who lives in Canada. He went into the aviation industry. So he was young. He was 18 when he got into this industry. So once I said to him that, who knows, maybe in no time, when I'm flying to Canada, you'll be the pilot of that plane. He said, that's impossible. We don't have very young pilots flying commercial airlines. I said, why? He said, because we need the hours. We need, say for example, at least 4,000 hours of flying to be able to fly a commercial airline plane. So you cannot bypass this step. That's why all the pilots flying commercial airlines are middle-aged men or women, maybe in their 40s. So you wouldn't find people in their 20s flying commercial airlines. Why? Because you need the hours. The education, the degree, or the talent is not enough. You need the hours. When it comes to religion, when it comes to faith, you need a spiritual journey. Pray every day, fast every now and then to nurture the spirit of yours. This is what you need. The second thing with respect to the spiritual journey that we need to pursue, that we need to take, is we need to enter into a fight with our nafs. Our nafs is an entity that always seeks pleasure and comfort. For example, you want to come to the majlis, your nafs tells you not to come. Stay at home, watch a movie, play with your phone. That's what your nafs tells you. The nafs always tells you to seek pleasure. The nafs tells you to lead a desireful life. That's your nafs. Our nafs should become a punching bag for us. Every time our nafs tells us not to do something, we need to go against our nafs and do it. Every time our nafs tells us to do something, you need to say no to your nafs. Through this struggle, this inner struggle, this inner jihad, you attain strength. Your spirit needs to go to the gym every now and then. And by every now and then, I mean every single day. You are faced with challenges. For example, you need to make the sinful gaze because a beautiful woman passes by. You say no to your nafs. And this is how you're exercising. You know how some people, they go to the gym for their appearance. Your soul needs exercise. Constant exercise by going against your nafs. Saying no to your nafs. And when your nafs becomes strong, you develop strong willpower. You can say no to big things. When you are offered with a big sin, very lucrative, these little sins that you abstained from will come in handy. You would be able to resist them. But this resistance needs to be done every single day and many times, all the time. You need to resist temptation. This is how you become stronger and stronger and stronger. As I said one night, the people that give in to their temptation, when it comes to big sins, like the people of Kufa. The people of Kufa, what they used to do is eat haram food. Haram food because of the illegitimate source of the money that they acquire. Haram food. Not listening to God here, not listening to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet or the Imam there. These all come together when they were asked to fight against Sayyid al-Shuhada. They participated because of these little sins. They accumulate, and then when they are challenged, they give in to big and major sins. That's the second thing. And the third thing that we need to do with respect to retaining our religiosity in a society like the society we're living in is that we need to draw lessons from life, because this world will either teach you the hard way. For example, you have no idea that this world sometimes slaps. You wake up in the morning and your father is dead, and your mother is dead. You never thought that this world will take away your loved ones, but it slaps you. Sometimes this is what it does. Before it slaps you like that in the face, what you should do is take lessons from this world. The hadith says that you should take lessons from others before you become a lesson for others. That's what you need to do. And the first lesson that we need to learn is about the reality of this world. Because the reality of this world doesn't become abundantly clear from the day that we're born. We think that all the na'am that we have, we take them for granted because we think that they're there to stay. But then as you grow up, your health is taken away from you. Your loved ones are taken away from you. But if you have a full understanding of this, what this world is and what it does to people, now you're young, you say, let me immerse myself in sin. And then you grow up and then regret it. Why did I do it? Now that you don't have the desire anymore, and you're thinking about the grave, and you're thinking about death. So make sure you take these lessons from this world, because this world teaches us a lot of lessons. وَمَا أَكْثَرَ الْعِبَرْ وَأَقَلَّ الْمُعْتَبَرْ. But unfortunately, the people that take these lessons are very few. So many lessons, but the people that take these lessons are very few. So the first lesson that we need to take is about the reality of this world. That this is a serious thing. This world is not a joke. And we don't control this dunya. This dunya slaps all the people that clinged to it. All the people that thought that this is a place to have fun and to enjoy and to satisfy our desires and just seek pleasure. This world failed them. And because this world is filled with desires, very attractive, very tempting desires, to counter these desires, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gave us many tools that we need to utilize. For example, the hadith says, اذكروا هادم اللذات ومفرق الجماعات. You should be mindful and remind yourself of the destroyer of all the desires. Even if you're in the middle of satisfying a desire, when you remember death, it just changes your mood. But unfortunately, we think that death is prescribed upon other people. That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen says that I've never seen something so obvious that looks like something not true, like death. We know it's there. We're certain about its existence and that we will die one day. But the way we deal with it, as if death is prescribed upon other people and not us. When you see an old man on his deathbed, you should tell yourself that one day I'll grow old. One day this guy was young like me. And time passes by so quickly. كُلُّ آتٍ قَرِيبٍ. Everything that's coming is near. Is near. How old are you now? 10 years ago, 15 years ago. How did these years pass? So quick, so fast. وَمَا مَضَى مِنْ عُمْرِكَ كَمَا هُوَ آتٍ. The hadith says, the years that passed, the years that will come are like the years that passed. They will come in no time. And in no time you will see yourself on your deathbed, surrounded by your grandchildren who will think that death is only prescribed upon you and not them. The same thing happens to them. The same thing that happened to you will happen to other people as well. اذكروا هادم اللذات. Keep reminding yourself of death, because these desires are very strong. The temptations are very attractive, very appealing. But to counter them, remind yourself of death. And this is what Yusuf alayhi salam did. When this woman came and she tried to lure him, she said, oh, you look so beautiful. She closed all the doors. You look so beautiful. You smell so nice. He said that 3 days after I die, if you come to my grave and take out my body, my corpse, you'd run away from me. And then she said, but you smell so good, you look so good. He repeated the same thing again, that after death I would look, after my body decomposes, you would run away from me. You'd run away from the smell. All the shampoos that you use to make your hair silky, all the cream that you use to make your skin soft, they wouldn't help you once you're entered inside the grave. So keep reminding yourself of this reality, because it will come in no time. When you remind yourself, the distractions in this world will not be able to distract you. You would be able to stay on the right path. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي. You will not be distracted. You will follow the right path. أدعو إلى الله. I invite you to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala basira. I have insight. I have full understanding of this, what this world represents, what this world is. This world has failed all the people that cling to it in the past. All the emperors, all the rulers, all the politicians, everyone. وَكُلٌّ قَتَلْتَ. Killed everyone. Where are they? What happened to Pharaoh? What happened to Harun al-Abbasi? What happened to Yazid, who were deceived by this world? What happened to them? They're gone. And they're burning in the inferno now. اذكروا هادم اللذات. The hadith says ومفرق الجماعات. And the one that scatters, make all the families scatter. The hadith says that when the angel of death comes and he extracts the soul of a person, the family of that person, the relatives of that person will start to wail, cry. Azrael talks to them. He says to them, اسكتوا. Shut up. كم لي إليكم من عودة. I will come again and again and again حتى لا أدع منكم أحدا, until none of you will be on the face of this earth in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years time. We will all be 6 feet under. Even an infant who is now an infant, 60, 70 years, he will join us in the grave. So keep mindful of this reality to counter these desires. Otherwise, you'll be distracted, you'll be immersed in sin, and you'll regret it later on. But you have to be prepared, and through remembering death, you will be prepared. When death comes, you will not be shocked, because you've prepared yourself. You knew all along about this time. You knew all along about this moment. So prepare yourself. أخرجوا من الدنيا قلوبكم قبل أن تخرج منها أبدانكم. Try to take out your heart from this world, as in lose interest in this dunya before your body is taken away, before your soul is taken away. This night is dedicated to Qasim ibn al-Hasan, the 13-year-old son of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he gave a sermon on the night of Ashura, on the night before Ashura, on the eve of Ashura. He asked all his companions and all his relatives to leave. He said, make the most of the night. These enemies can't see you. There are no lights. He asked his companions to take the hands of his relatives, Abbas, his brothers, the Hashemites, and just leave Ali al-Akbar and go. And he said that if these people kill me, they won't be interested in killing you. So you could just leave me. I give you the permission to leave me. I'm an imam, I'll give you the permission to leave me. But Abbas alayhi salam, he stood up and he said, how can we abandon you? You're God's proof on earth. You represent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He gave a fiery sermon, and all the other companions, when they listened to the sermon of Abbas, they were encouraged. Each and every one of them gave a sermon saying that we will stay with you, O Abu Abdullah. When that happened, when he was certain that they will be staying with him, he said, now that that's the case, I will tell you something. You will all be killed tomorrow. You will meet your final fate tomorrow, the day of Ashura. Qasim al-Hasan, who wasn't in the woman's tents, he wasn't in the kids' tents, he was only 13. He was in the tent of Imam al-Hussein and his companions. He was listening attentively to the sermon of Imam al-Hussein. When the Imam finished the sermon, he was in the very back of the tent. He said, Ammah, I have a question. Will I be killed tomorrow as well? Imam al-Hussein could have responded by saying yes. But because the issue is very sensitive and you're talking to a 13-year-old boy, he wanted to see what his response is. He said, Bunay, what do you think of death? How do you view death? although he was only 13, but his response speaks volumes of his ma'rifah in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the Prophet and in the Imam. He said, Fiq, with you, O Aba Abdullah, for you, O Aba Abdullah, it's sweeter than honey. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam then said to him, yes, you'll be killed as well. Not only you, but my 6-month-old infant will also be killed tomorrow. He said, really? So will these enemies raid the tents? He said, no. I will be taking my 6-month-old infant to the battlefield and they will kill him. On the day of Ashura, after the martyrdom of all the companions, including Abbas, as I mentioned one night when the Imam made that plea, هل من ناصر ينصرنا هل من معين يعيننا. He was looking for a supporter, someone to help him. He was looking for one helper. Qasim al-Hassan was one of the first to come out of the tent. He came out of the tent and he said, لبيك عماه لبيك ابن رسول الله لبيك سيدي. Here I am, here I am. I came to help you, I came to support you. The Imam looked at him and he said, Bunay, you're my nephew. He was only 3 when Imam al-Hassan passed away, when Imam al-Hassan was poisoned. So Imam al-Hussein was his uncle and was his father and was his mentor. He says to him, Bunay Qasim, you're the son of my brother Hassan. And every time I wanted to see my brother Hassan, I see you, I look at you. He entrusted me with you. How can I let you go to the battlefield and get killed? No, I won't let you. فما زال يقبل يديه ورجليه. Reporters tell us that he began kissing the Imam's hands, but the Imam refused. So he began kissing the Imam's feet, saying, Ammah ya Aba Abdullah, I can't take it anymore. I hear the kids, the small children wailing, crying, saying, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, we're thirsty. I can't take it anymore. Allow me to go to the battlefield. فَتَعَانَقَا, they hugged. حَتَّى غُشِيَ عَلَيْهِمَا, until they both fell. They cried so much until they both fell to the ground. Some say that Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba, before his death, he gave a letter to Qasim. He said to him that one day, a day will come when you will feel the despair, you will feel depressed. On that day, I want you to open this letter. So he opens the letter. The letter is addressed to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So he takes that letter to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In that letter, Imam al-Hassan, it was the writing of the Imam, the handwriting of Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hassan told Imam al-Hussein in that letter, unfortunately, I am not with you here in Karbala to support you. I wish if I was. But please accept this small sacrifice from me. So Imam al-Hussein finally agrees for Qasim to go to the battlefield. He wraps the turban of Imam al-Hassan, his father, on his head. And he makes him wear the armor of Imam al-Hassan. When he wears the turban, takes the sword, he's wearing the armor, he goes inside the tent to say goodbye to his mom and to say goodbye to his auntie Zainab. The moment his auntie Zainab looks at him, because of the resemblance that he had with his father Imam al-Hassan, Lady Zainab said, Akhi Aba Muhammad, oh brother Aba Muhammad, Imam al-Hassan had come back to life. He said, Amma Zainab, I want to go to the battlefield. I just came to say goodbye to you. So they bid farewell with this 13-year-old kid. He goes to the battlefield. He doesn't have a horse. He's marching on foot, but he fights courageously. When they look at him, reporters say, from the enemy's side, they say that a young boy came out of the tent that looked like a full moon. A full moon. He looked so good and he fought courageously. So some said that he must be one of the children of Hussein, but we've never seen him before. Others said, no, he's one of the children of Ali. Some said maybe he's a child of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that we never knew of. When they didn't know who he was, his identity, he had to reveal his identity. He said, in tunkiruni, if you don't know who I am, فَأَنَا نَجْلُ الْحَسَنِ. The name of Hassan had to be brought on that day because Imam al-Hassan wanted to participate on the day of Ashura. When Imam al-Hussein came to see him, when he was poisoned and he was throwing up parts of his stomach, Imam al-Hussein began to cry. Imam al-Hassan said to him, Akhi Aba Abdullah, why are you crying? He said, because of what's happening to you. He said, Lakin la yawm ka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. There is no day like yours, O Aba Abdullah. 30,000 people will come thirsty to shed your blood. I wish if I was there. In tunkiruni, I am the son of Imam al-Hassan al-Mujtaba. فأنا نجل الحسن صبط النبي. I am the grandchild of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Then he says, Hada Hussein, and this is Hussein, is like a captive. He's been surrounded by you guys. You don't know who Hussein is? بين أناس لا سقوا صوب المزن. He's fighting courageously when the shoe in his right feet snaps. So he bows down to fix his shoe, careless of the entire army that had come to strike him with their swords. غير آبهن بالجموع. Reporters say that when an enemy combatant said that, by God, I will make his uncle Hussein grieve at his death. Hamid ibn Muslim said that I told him, leave him. You have all these men surrounding him. They will do the job for you. He said, no, by God, I will do that. I will strike him with the sword. So he came from behind Qasim. He raised the sword and he struck him with the sword on his head. Al-Qasim ibn al-Hassan fell, calling out, Amma hadrikni. Oh, Uncle Hussein, please come to my rescue. Imam al-Hussein rushes to see where Qasim is. He saw the enemy combatant sitting on the chest of Qasim, trying to behead Qasim ibn al-Hassan. The Imam charged at him. They engaged. The Imam was able to kill that enemy combatant who struck Qasim ibn al-Hassan with his sword. But reporters tell us when the dust settled, وَالْغُلَامْ يَفْحَصُ بِرِجْلَيْهِ, Qasim ibn al-Hassan was surrendering his soul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Hussein sat next to the corpse of Qasim. He said, يَعُزُّ اللَّهَ عَلَىٰ عَمِّكَ أَن تَدْعُوَهُ فَلَا يُجِيبُكَ. It is so difficult for your uncle that you call him and I don't respond. Or when you seek help, I cannot help you. هَذَا يَوْمٌ وَاللَّهَ عَزَّ نَاصِرُهُ. This is a day that I don't have any helpers anymore. هذا يوم كثر واتره. Then the Imam carried Qasim ibn al-Hassan. When he carried Ali al-Akbar, Abbas came. Other members of the Hashemites came. But now Imam al-Hussein is alone. His back is bent. He carries Qasim to the tent. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والعاقبة للمتقين. Please recite Dua al-Faraj. Stand up, recite Dua al-Faraj so the Sayyid can come to the minbar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك